Okay, today piston rings got here for the pistons. So what I'm going to do is show you how these go into the cylinder and how you check the gaps for it. You have a minimum and maximum gap when these are in the cylinder squared up where they have to be at. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and the way you check those is with these feeler gauges here. Now if you got two sets, it works a lot easier because you can get your minimum gap and your maximum gap, and you can put them in there instead of fiddling through here. So the minimum gap is 39 thousandths. So I've got a 16, a 17, 33, and then another 6 thousandths, and we now have our minimum gap set for these feeler gauges. So anyway, let me get the camera moved over to another spot where you can see exactly what I'm doing here, and I'll be right back. Okay, so hopefully you can see that a little bit better if I quit bumping it here. Okay, so first thing we do, we take our piston ring, and you can see the little dot right here. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. There's a little dot. That means that goes up. So that would be facing the top of the piston when you install these piston rings. So first thing we're going to do, get our feeler gauges set right in here again, and we're going to put some oil on the rings. If I can get that fixed. Okay, so first you just take and put a little bit of oil. You want to make sure this is oiled up pretty good, and you might make sure you got oil in your cylinders. Now this is the rear of the cylinder. You got to take it and put this in the cylinder. Make sure you got your oil on there, and you put it in the direction it's supposed to go, and then you press it in. Now you want to make sure that this thing is perfectly square, perpendicular with the cylinder. Now you can take a measuring tool and measure that all the way around. Make sure you have it exactly square, or the easiest way is take the piston, put the piston in, and slide the piston in. Now you have it squared perfectly with the cylinder. So I don't know if you can see this gap here. Let me get a different light. Sorry about that, but if you can see this little gap right here, you're going to take your feeler gauges and you're going to measure this. Now this should go in there, which it does. That fits in there, and that's our minimum gap of 39 thousandths. Now we got our maximum gap of 52 thousandths, and this does not go in there, so that means the gap is not too big. That means this is within the range of where it's supposed to be, because these feeler gauges will not go down inside of there. I guess my hand keeps getting in the way, but they will not fit down in there, so that means it's within tolerance. If the gap is smaller than this and your minimum gap won't go in there, then you have to pull these out and you have to file on them until you get them within minimum range to add that on there. So anyway, I've only got 9 more to go. There's 5 per cylinder, so I will get these all gapped up, and then we'll move on to putting them onto the piston. Hey y'all, today we're going to talk about pistons. I got my shop dog here, Betty. She's kind of a little bit afraid because we've got lightning storms going on right now, and it just started to rain. It's okay. You okay? I need you to get behind the camera so you can run this operation. Thank you for the kisses. Okay. Here we are on the pistons. We were going to film this earlier, except we had some weather come through here. There was some loud thunder and lightning going on and lots of rain. So it's finally cleared up, and we're getting ready to show you what's going on here now. So this here's the piston. This is one of the piston rings. I'm going to show you how this goes on here. This is your connecting rod or piston rod. And this is your piston pin or wrist pin. This is going to go inside of here with that, and it goes through this part of the connecting rod, basically to hold it inside the piston. So we'll show you that here in a minute. One of the other things I wanted to show you, actually a couple things. Right down here, this ring down here is called your oil ring, and so you can see it has a groove in here. So we can zoom this in here. Inside the groove here, there's an expander ring which pushes out on this piston ring. These piston rings will be pushed up against this once they're inside the cylinder, once they're compressed. So anyway, you want to make sure you have that expander ring inside there before you put this actual oil ring. The rest of these rings here are compression rings, and these are made out of cast iron, and they will break. So you can't, sometimes on a regular piston you can kind of just roll these on there. You don't want to try that with these. You want to make sure you have a pair of piston ring pliers. So basically, if I can get it in there, you're going to put the pliers in there and expand it like this, slide it over, and then put it into place. So after you've got your gaps checked on all your rings, that's what you're going to do to put this on there. So anyway, also inside here, I don't know if you can see, but there's a little ridge inside here. This is where this clip will go once you have the wrist pin inside. And with that clip, it has to fit in that groove because you do not want this to come out. If this comes out, that's going to be bad news for your cylinder. So anyway, then once we have this, the connecting rod hooked back up inside the piston and all the retainers in, then it's ready to go into the cylinder. And the way you do that is with this right here is a ring compressor. And what you do is this goes over all the piston rings. It's supposed to go over all the piston rings. There we go. Make sure it's in there straight. Nope, it's not over the oil ring. It's hanging up here. There we go. Oop, maybe not. There it goes. Okay. So now once you have that over all your rings, you can take this and tighten this up. And that compresses all these rings up against the piston so you can slide this into the cylinder. So anyway, that's how that works, but we're not quite ready till we put the connecting rod on. So we take this apart, take this back off. And this is a large ring compressor. I had to special order that. My regular one doesn't go this big. So in any event, let's put the connecting rod in. Now we have to go make sure this hole right here, it's stamped right there top. So this hole right here in the top of the piston, that's how you know this is the top. And you have these numbers here which tell you it's for the number 2 cylinder. You want to make sure those are up as well. That's how this is going to go back together. So we'll put this into here. Connecting rod. See, just like that. That slides in there like that. And then we take this clip here. It goes down inside here, making sure we get it inside that groove. so it's not going to come out. There we go. And there you have it. So the piston is assembled and ready for us to put in the tractor. One other thing I want to show you. Once you have this installed, this here cap comes apart and this will bolt together around your crank shaft. They call it the crank pin, actually. And you have these shims here, which you can expand or contract the distance between here to get 2/1000ths or 3/1000ths, so you have room for oil inside here in between your crank pin and the rod housing, or excuse me, the connecting rod. But once you get that in there, these bolts go in and they get torqued, and then you want to take a cotter pin just like this. Hands are all slippery from the assembly lube. Don't forget to use assembly lube either on all these parts. So, but this will go down in through here, and I have this upside down so you can see it, but the pin will come through here, and then you're going to bend one part over this way and one part can go over to this side. There's several different ways of safety wiring. This is how I'm going to do this, or excuse me, not safety wiring, but cotter pinning, and this is how I'm going to do that on here. So in any event, that's pretty much all there is to it. Pretty simple, huh?